Ah, the jolly intro song brings us in on a wonderful day. Welcome everyone. Welcome to FUD and FOMO live on the day that crypto had got on the one way train to Goblin Town. My name is Guy. I am joined by my good friends and colleagues Nick. Hello, Nick.
Hey Guy, how you doing?
I've been better. And I'm also joined by Lewis. Lewis, how are you doing?
Howdy, doing great.
Good.
So Guy, are you having fun being poor over there? I see.
I am indeed. I hope you are enjoying pivoting from crypto.
And then pivot from crypto to anything, whatever it is. It can be anything. Just pivot, bro. Just pivot.
Yes. Meanwhile, diversification is the name of the game for Lewis.
Yeah. Diversification outside of crypto. Although I have seen some people say I diversified from losing money in crypto to losing money in everything. So who knows?
Yeah, it was that. There's the sort of the 30th of January was a tough one, wasn't it? Because crypto nuked, but obviously like gold and silver nuked as well. I really didn't know how to feel on that day because like I was, it was a horrible day, but I sort of had this weird sort of sense that it's like, well, it could be worse. It could be just crypto. Like it was almost like I felt kind of happy in a way that other people were suffering. And then I realized
the crypto bros are right. I mean, the theory was right. People pivoted from selling metals to selling crypto. So you started seeing a sell off in gold and silver to basically sell off in crypto as well.
Yeah.
So, okay, crypto, bad luck crypto. It's only correlated to the downside. It's like, equity sell off, it's correlated. Gold sells off, it's correlated. But let them catch a bid, crypto stays down there in Goblin Town. Whoever broke this market needs to fix it. Like, seriously. We need to speak to the manager of the markets. We need to speak to them and lay a complaint to them, Trustpilot or something like that.
Yes. There are a few questions we have.
Yes.
Okay. So we are going to we're going to talk a bit about what's happened in the market. Obviously, try and give you some answers as to what's been going down, and then we're going to discuss the big story that is. I don't know. I'd be really interested actually to get your guys, Lewis and Nick, as an American and a South African, respectively. I'd be really interested to know how all the Epstein stuff is playing out in your particular homelands, because I can tell you the UK is going absolutely bananas. And actually, it might bring down the Prime Minister.
Minister?
Yeah, which I mean, I'll get into all that later. But we're not. Don't worry, folks. We're not pivoting from crypto into naked conspiracy theory. There is actually a crypto Yet. I mean, another week of this.
Never say never, bro. Never say never. If this market continues going down this rabbit hole, we're going to start diving into the Bilderberg group.
Look, let's not rule anything out, okay? Let's keep all of our options on the table.
Conspiracy Bureau,
a crypto connection with the Epstein files as well. So we're going to discuss that too, because there's some interesting stuff in there, and maybe we can get to the bottom of whether Jeffrey Epstein was Satoshi Nakamoto or not. But yes, first of all, let's. I want you guys in the comments as well. There's lots of talk. I've seen a bit of debate. Some people are saying this is the bottom. Some people are saying this is got lower to go. Where does everyone think the bottom is? We are currently at 66.2K. We wicked down to about 60K, didn't we, overnight? Yes, we were. Yeah, we just touched it there. So I want to know from people, where do you think the bottom is? Is this the bottom? Is there lower to go? And if there is lower to go, where do you think? Wow. Okay. There's it could be even further to go. But yes, please do let us know in the comments where you think the bottom is. Just very, very interested to get people's take on this, and as a sort of read of sentiment in general. but yes, I'll see your 36K. I'll raise you 28K. Okay. But yes, let's have a talk about the markets. Nick, you've got some stuff to share with us on this one.
Yeah, so I'll basically, let me pop my screen up here, add to the stage. So yeah, obviously just looking at price action, it's like you said, it was down to as low as 60K. Thankfully, I was asleep, so I, at that particular point, I don't know what I would have done if I was awake. Maybe started drinking again. But we really broke down there, and thankfully there's a bit of a recovery going on right now, given that there was we had some really bad jobs numbers come out, the Challenger report, which showed that their planned firings this year had less people had planned hiring this year, which means potentially when we get the new Fed governor, they'll be more accommodative on the monetary side, and we potentially have some liquidity coming in. But in terms of what we're doing, I think the market's now reaching a new level of depression. And I tweeted this the other day. It's like, why is Bitcoin trading like it was mentioned in the Epstein files, which indeed it was. And just stuff like, this is also interesting because I put this tweet out a few days ago and some people took great issue with it, but I was saying, it was half jokingly, really, like seen a lot of bad takes in the timeline for those that weren't around in 2018, 2020, or post FTX in 2022. This is by far the worst. And some were pointing out that obviously markets were down a lot then, and the wicked down lower, and drawdowns were worse. But honestly, the sentiment on the timeline is terrible because of all these associations with Bitcoin going on right now, the Trump family, the scams, the lack of a bid in anywhere, the downward price action continually. Did they really have to drop the Epstein Satoshi FUD right now? We were just trying to recover from 1010 and the quantum risks. And honestly, I sometimes do wonder, do you think he still thinks of us over at MIT teaching? Because we sure do miss him. But yeah, I mean, in terms of what's going on with prices, Lewis can also give his own opinion of it as well. But we broke through the cycle high of 2021, and that was a key resistance level generally, right? Many potential buyers in that level. And if we broke through it even further, then the sellers who had bought near the top then would have been selling as well. It was a 5-year roller coaster that brought us back to where we started. So it's mad, ups and downs. Momentum is not on our side, though, and I'll point out one other chart here, which I tweeted as well. And it's, one sec. And this is basically showing that why is it crashing? It's just basically the lack of demand was there, right? You had very thin markets, not a lot of market makers in there. There's still a theory around what happened with 1010, and as a result, there is no market making going on, and it melts through the order books. And the scale and how precipitous the fall was last night was surprising to many. They thought there would have been some resistance at the 60K level, or no, the 69K level at least, or the 70K, but it just melted through that. And in fact, if you're talking about oversold levels, on the weekly RSI, we are now at the most oversold since June 2020, which was the 3AC Luna blow up, even more oversold than FTX. So this just shows the scale of how quickly prices have fallen. And then I guess it comes down to the question of where exactly could we bottom, right? And I put this out a few days ago prior to the collapse below 70K. This Bitcoin, I think, was still trading at 76K, right? And everyone agreed that when we broke through the 50-week moving average a few months ago, that was the key bull trend. And since that time, momentum has not been on our side. We've tried to catch a bit. There was a bit of a fake out earlier in the year. But then 2 weeks ago, we broke through the 100-day moving average. So as we're breaking down past these moving averages, it's clear that momentum is moving away. And subsequently, we obviously broke through the previous cycle high as well. Now, the target in terms of a potential bear market, let's be honest, we're in a bear market, no need hiding that point anymore, is many have been pointing to the 200-week moving average, and that's an important range because not only is the 200-week moving average there, but you also have the realized on-chain price, which is the average price of all the coins since they were last moved on-chain. And these two have been quoted as the potential target for a bear market retracement. And that's between the 55K to 58K range, which is not too far away from where we are now. So The good news is that we could be close to a bottom. Bad, it depends whether you think that is the actual bottom. Like many of our people in the chat have been saying, it could be lower, could go to the 300-week moving average. Some people have said that previous bear markets we have gone as low as that. I do hope though that we do have
weekly moving average. 500 weekly moving average. 600?
600, man. Hey, bro.
1,000.
As long as Bitcoin's got a price, it's okay. There's still hope. As long as it's got a price, there's still hope of a recovery. When it goes to zero, then, I mean, if it is revealed in the next batch of the Epstein files that Satoshi was Mr. Epstein himself, then, But yeah, I mean, that's my read on the market. I mean, Lewis, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I got pretty lucky. Not gonna lie, because I've been following this this basically 4-year cycle chart, and since 2020, I think I had a chart just like that I've been looking at, and it basically said the 4th cycle high was gonna be in Q5 of 2025. Pretty much like in October, like September, October. So it's like, when that happened, it's the same amount of days from like the 3rd Bitcoin halving to the 3rd high. And then you look at the 4th Bitcoin halving to the 4th high in October, right? It's like that's about the same amount of days. You look at the low to the low, the high to the high of cycle 1 to cycle 2, cycle 2 to cycle 3, cycle 3 to cycle 4, right? And it did say that the 4th cycle high of this cycle was going to be in Q4, October 2025, and it just happened to be it, which is amazing. And so I'm doing the same thing for the low. And if you take the lows from the previous cycles, you probably remember last cycle, it was 365 days, right? It was like basically 1 year. We topped out in November of 2021, and then we bottomed in November of 2022. So that's happened, most cycles, it's been about like 1 year. So if we topped out in October of 2025, and the cycle chart that I used, that said that was going to happen, it did. So if that stays correct, then we should bottom out in October of 2026 of this year. So I'm doing that. That's what I'm basing it on. It's a big thing is time, because what we have to remember is that when things do go down, it's not just a matter of price goes down so people could buy, but when things actually go down, like in bear markets, and last bear market was a perfect example of this, there's a lot of companies that need to restructure, and they need to do the traditional finance stuff that takes a long time. And so there wasn't a V bottom last cycle low, right? It was months and months and months at the lows. It was like September, October, November, and then finally we started to get a little move up. So there was plenty of time, and I think that the same thing is going to happen this cycle. We're going to have a few months at the low to accumulate, and personally, if I don't know if you have the chart, or maybe I could. I'll put a chart on later, but basically that time frame is what I'm looking at, September, October of this year for the low. And if you take the Fibonacci from the very bottom to the very top of this entire cycle, that puts us around I'll just do it right now just to make sure. But yeah, if you take the Fibonacci from around 16,000 to the high at 126k, that puts the golden ratio at 58,000 to 59,000. And it puts the 78.6 at around 40k. So we've always ended up going down to the 78.6 in bear markets and bottoming there. So I would say 40k is probably going to be like the absolute bottom. But if we are lucky, then maybe 58, 59 at the golden ratio. And that's my take on it.
Interesting. What do you think, Guy? Where do you think we could catch a bottom?
Yeah, I mean, I think both of those targets Lewis has mentioned kind of makes sense. I mean, I'm trying to think of it from a, from a psychological and sentiment point of view. And I think, I mean, I really think that that last, the 69K all-time high from the last cycle, I think, losing that level is a big psychological slip. So, I mean, I can personally see us slipping down to around 50K. I mean, I think that would be a pretty key psychological level as well. So, a dip below 50K, and it could get worse. But yeah, 50K is what I'm kind of looking at.
Cool, 50K, okay. Well, this then brings us to the most important story that could determine where Bitcoin goes in the, well, at least the FUD. And this is FUD and FOMO. So that was the potential. The FUD component is coming. But let's first roll with our first ad insert, and then we'll come to the FUD component that could send us to Goblin Town.
Coinbase is offering up to 150 euros in BTC when you create and verify an account there and use it to buy some crypto. So scan the QR code on screen now to get access to all the amazing products and services offered by one of the world's biggest and best known exchanges. Restrictions apply. See terms and conditions for more details.
Okay, thank you to Coinbase. All right, yeah, we need to talk about.
Great transition for Coinbase. Welcome to Coinbase. Now, welcome to our second subject of the stream, which is Bitcoin and the Epstein files.
So I did sort of deliberately put in a bit of a fire break of sort of blah before I went Epstein. So, because I don't think anyone wants that. But yeah, we need to talk about the latest release of the Epstein files, 3 million pages. So, I mean, first of all, let's spare a thought for whoever's having to go through all of that at the moment, because I imagine I imagine that's pretty tedious.
Can you imagine sorry, it's a terrible thought, but imagine all the photos of Epstein they must have gone through, given the guy took prolific pictures of everything. And they had to redact all of this kind of stuff. Like, they don't pay them enough.
I mean, someone has had a rotten job having to go through the uncensored ones and take a load of stuff out, because I mean they must have seen some pretty awful stuff. And now other people are having to go through the kind of redacted versions, and of course there are still apparently another 6 million pages which they've just said they're not going to release at all, which just throws up a bunch of other questions as well. But it's it really, this is the scandal that just won't go away. And the reason we're talking about it today, not just because everyone is talking about it, but because it does actually have an impact on crypto, because Bitcoin and a few other crypto projects and some personalities within the crypto space got mentioned in the files. They were, Epstein either he either spoke about Bitcoin with certain people at certain times. He invested a fair bit of money into various crypto projects, which we'll get to, and he was in contact with a number of people. And I should point out at this stage, any names that we mention here or in the video that we're releasing on Sunday, dedicated to this. Any names that we mention, we're not casting aspersions, we're not making accusations of any type, we're just referring to the fact that these names have cropped up in the files. We're not making any accusations against anyone here, just going with the publicly available information. But yeah, and then remind me after we've sort of talked through this. Like I say, I want to get the perspective of how all this, the kind of files in general are going down in some other countries, because, like I say, the UK is just losing its mind over all of this. A few things to point out first. So firstly, it seems Jeffrey Epstein was aware of Bitcoin from quite early on. One of his earliest investments actually was in 2014. He invested $3 million in Coinbase. Now, this was through a shell company. This was through a third party. And this was part of their $75 million Series C funding round. He later sold that. About 4 years later, he sold half of his stake for $15 million. So he made a tidy profit on that initial investment just through selling half of it. So yeah, that was one of the big revelations about one of the places he invested in. Coinbase. Yeah.
This is through an LLC, and then someone bought it back from him. This is we'll come to that in terms of who introduced him to that and who he sold to as well as the people that relates to that.
Yeah,
it's interesting though, and also the fact that Coinbase would obviously have done due diligence on this at this stage for the funding rounds in 2014 was, and it's important to note the timeline here, guys, because he was convicted in 2009. Right. And that's why a lot of this is raising a lot of issues for people, because, if this was known fully in 2009 post-conviction, there was all the information about him. Anyone who was engaging and talking with him, not just within crypto, but in general, was willingly talking with a known sex offender. Right.
Yeah. This is what is sending the UK crazy at the moment, because our now former ambassador to Washington, D.C., it turns out was a very good friend of Epstein's, and he was appointed to that role when it was known that he had these connections, and this is what is threatening to maybe bring down the Prime Minister of the UK. Like this is just it just shows how this scandal is just kind of rippling around the world. It's crazy. Now, there's in terms of Epstein's relationship to Bitcoin. This is also very interesting. He donated approximately $850,000 to the MIT Media Lab. Now, these funds were then used. The Bitcoin used to be kind of overseen and run, and developer salaries paid via the Bitcoin Foundation. And the Bitcoin Foundation found itself in financial difficulties. This was 2015. So some of these funds, some of this 850K that Epstein donated, was then reportedly used to help pay the salaries of some Bitcoin core developers. So this is one of the things that's got a lot of people talking, and this has given rise to a lot of speculation. And I think a lot of this speculation is, most of the speculation is, without real foundation. But yes, indirectly, Epstein did fund Bitcoin's development. But that is the extent of it, from what I can, from the information that we have from the files so far. There's no evidence that he had any say over Bitcoin's direction. There's no evidence that he had any sway over those developers whose salaries, his money helped pay. So this is really important, because I think this is one of the things that, people tend to seize on this and be like, oh, Epstein funded Bitcoin or whatever. It's like, well, yeah, but it's not like he was then being like, okay, well, I think you should do this and I think you should do this. It's like, that money found its way into Bitcoin's development, but it's not like you can say Epstein was the puppet master as far as Bitcoin was concerned, right?
Yeah, and we need to know how many LPs there were. Like how many people invested into it in the early days. Was it like Epstein and like a handful of people, or was it, like 100, 200 people, 300 people or something like that, like in different firms and different hedge funds and things like that? Like how many? Like, because if there were quite a number of them, then that makes a huge difference, because then Epstein is just like one of the many that did. But I mean, if it's like just Epstein and like 3 other people, then it's like, okay, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, this is true. I think also the fact it's not just that's Bitcoin's, that's MIT digital currency, which is basically an open source initiative, but also a bigger concern I think that many people are raising, at least in the Bitcoin community right now, is that of the funding of Blockstream. Now, Blockstream, if you guys don't know, it's a Bitcoin development company, and the founder and CEO is Adam Back, who's also a Bitcoin OG. Actually, was mentioned in the Satoshi emails. So he's been around for a long time, and he's an OG. And I think the emails reveal that Epstein invested in Blockstream, or they took it was an indirect investor into Blockstream's 2014 seed round. And subsequent emails also revealed the discussions between them. So it was interesting to see that also disclosed.
Yeah. But again, like, these investments are kind of like, it doesn't appear to be a straightforward case of Epstein approaching these companies, approaching Blockstream, approaching Coinbase, and indeed approaching, the MIT Media Lab, and being like, can I donate, asking to donate money or actively investing. Like both the Blockstream and Coinbase investments appear to have been done through these third parties. Now, that's not to say that, it's completely, it was completely hands off. But I think it is important to flag that up. It's not like, we've got to be careful about sort of dragging, I think, these names too far in. When they're doing funding rounds like this, these decks will go out to a lot of very rich people, and I guess I would say in defense, it's probably it is on them to do due diligence. But I mean, can they ever be entirely sure where the money is coming from?
Well, I guess it depends if they are in direct contact with Epstein in emails, and if you take an investment from someone, you would do due diligence on your investors. In the case of Coinbase, emails clearly show mention of meeting a Mr. Epstein, and whoever it is, you would have obviously just done a Google search. Now, I mean, who knows what was available online in 2014, 2015, or whatever as relates to Epstein, but I can only assume that there was references mentioned to him in newspapers and articles, especially as relates to his conviction, because he was actively lobbying people to try and ask them how he would clean up his online image, engaging in SEO agencies and stuff like that, because it was clearly a problem for him. So therefore, one can deduce that the information was freely available online. So if you're going to do any sort of due diligence for your investors and you come across this Mr. Jeffrey Epstein, and you would have seen that information, one would assume, if you've done any sort of due diligence. So that is what I think many people have a question about. And then also the fact, look, I mean, it's not just these guys, not just in crypto, but if you kind of like, if you knew you had taken an investment from him, or if you had known that you had in discussions with him, you're only telling people in the public now, subsequent to the emails being released, rather than beforehand. So,
yeah, that is very true. That is very true. Another name that crops up. This is according to recent reports. An investment firm co-founded by Peter Thiel reportedly accepted $40 million from Epstein as well. I mean, Peter Thiel is just like, he's just so embedded in Silicon Valley, isn't he? I mean, because I think he was an early investor in Coinbase. I think he has invested in a lot. But perhaps not so surprising to see his name there either.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. So, and as I say, the files are still being gone through. So perhaps there are still some more kind of poison pills to float to the surface in terms of the companies that received funding directly or indirectly from Epstein. But yeah, I mean, again, it just seems to be a kind of a reputational hit for crypto, which I personally, and I'm obviously biased because I work in this industry, I personally think it's a little bit unfair. But it's a reputational hit for crypto at quite possibly the worst possible time.
That's true. It is. I mean, it's just all of these things confluence at this particular point in time. It's like beat you when you're down. But we'll get on to, I think we'll come to the audience questions after this. Let's just quickly run a roll for our next sponsor of the show before we move on.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, I want to give a big shout out to the sponsors of this live stream, Binance. Now, if you need an exchange that has loads of trading pairs, loads of liquidity, and a fantastic interface to boot, then Binance is the place to go. And if you sign up using this QR code, you're not only eligible for up to $600 in sign-up bonuses, but you'll also get a 20% trading fee discount for life. Yes, that is for life. So a big thanks to Binance for sponsoring this stream. And speaking of which, let's get back to it.
Okay, now before we move on to audience questions and some of the comments there, we should also talk about some of the crypto personalities that have cropped up in the Epstein files as well. And again, we're not casting any aspersions here. We're not making accusations of guilt or otherwise. Just referencing some of these names that have been discussed. So an interesting one is we mentioned the MIT Media Lab, which was this big force behind Bitcoin in its early days. Joy Ito, who was the former director there, was Epstein's kind of primary link to the world of crypto. And him and Epstein appear to have emailed each other a lot about Bitcoin's governance and also arranging meetings with developers and students at MIT's Digital Currency Initiative, which was, again, like, this kind of entity, part of the Media Lab that was behind, or that certainly helped fund some of Bitcoin's early development.
Yep. And then another individual who's an early Bitcoin investor who some may have known if they'd been around in those days. And he was quite prolific in the 2017 to 2020 cycle online personality, is Brock Pierce. And emails from 2014 show Pierce offering Epstein an allocation in Coinbase, coming back to the Coinbase point, and discussing potential meetings in New York and Puerto Rico. So yeah, that was Brock Pierce.
Just in case anyone is unaware of Brock Pierce, this is Brock Pierce's vibe. Yeah. So this is from
child actor. He was in Mighty Ducks.
He was in the Mighty Ducks. The Mighty Ducks was the first sort of first step on what has been, I think it's fair to say, a varied career. So yeah, Brock, but yeah, he's obviously this kind of extraordinary character, former child actor, but one of the early founders of Tether. So this guy is I mean, this guy is
and Block.One, EOS. I mean,
oh yes,
he is probably so minted. Yeah, it's like, so it's crazy. Block.One, EOS, all of this.
Block.One, Block.One, as far as I know, didn't come up in the Epstein files, but it did come up. We were doing a video. I was recording a video review for Coin Bureau Club, and Block.One got mentioned, and it was just every time I hear that name and hear EOS, it just sort of get flashbacks. Did you see one of the founders of Block.One bought a 170 million euro villa in Sardinia? I think it was last year.
The most expensive real estate transaction in Italy's history. Hey man, he pivoted from crypto into Italian villa real estate. Well, credit to him.
That EOS ICO, $4 billion. Just remember that.
Do you remember what they did with the money?
Well, 170 million of it went into Sardinian real estate, but
no, they bought it because they Block.One invested. So obviously they were one of the biggest Bitcoin whales because of the money they raised at the ICO. They started Bullish. I think they were investors in Bullish, and Bullish is a global cryptocurrency exchange. Went public as well, so they also got some equity in Bullish in public, and then also some exit there. So they made an exit on the IPO of Bullish. So yeah, let's just say they're not short of change.
They also took some billions allegedly from what I remember from their EOS round, which was the biggest round in crypto history at the time. And they took all the money that was supposed to be used to develop EOS and allegedly, and just bought Bitcoin with it.
Well, I mean, yeah, they raised in Bitcoin. I don't know what happened to that, and then EOS rebanded. So Anyways, this isn't an EOS bashing stream. The other person who was mentioned, as we've mentioned before, is Peter Thiel, and he corresponded and he connected people, and he was kept in correspondence with Epstein for at least 5 years. And then there's Fred Ersham from Coinbase, as mentioned as well earlier, that he was in contact with Epstein regarding the actual round in 2014 via introductions via Brock Pierce.
Yeah. Fred Erskine, co-founded Coinbase with Brian Armstrong. Actually stepped away quite early, I think. I'm not sure what he does now, but Brian Armstrong has been leading Coinbase solo for a while now. Epstein was also in contact with Reid Hoffman, who's the co-founder of LinkedIn, which is enough to buy you a berth in hell, I think. Hoffman into several. What's that?
Yeah. I finished. Sorry.
Hoffman introduced Epstein to some Silicon Valley figures, including the aforementioned Peter Thiel, and was also present in meetings where fundraising and crypto initiatives were discussed as well. So, Reid Hoffman.
Reid Hoffman's going back and forth with Elon on Twitter right now, based on who was mentioned more in the Epstein files. Throwing shade at each other. But there was a really funny line from one of the emails. It's a bit of a tangent, but I found it hilarious. And this is the fact that when Epstein was talking to someone else about that, he would introduce him to Reid Hoffman. And then the person said, "Who's Reid Hoffman?" And he said, "Yeah, he's the quote fatty from LinkedIn." And someone quote tweeted, like, "Can you imagine being worth $1 billion, investing in all these different companies, being one of the early Silicon Valley entrepreneurs, and you get to refer to as the fatty from LinkedIn?"
I think these billionaires need this as a sort of a slight bring down to earth. You've got to be reminded that really underneath it all, we're all just sacks of meat, aren't we?
Yeah.
I like the one that I thought it was funny when the Elon one, the Elon email where he was like, Jeff was like, "Do you think I'm retarded?" Like,
oh yeah, when he invited him, come to the you're going to be around New York for the UN General Assembly. We've got some really interesting diplomats coming around the house. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Elon's like,
sorry, it wouldn't be a proper use of my time. I run these giant corporations and companies. I don't really want to be there.
Oh man, these emails.
And Elon's like, "Girls for the win." Yeah. I honestly think he is too autistic to actually realize what was happening. Like, I don't think Elon was involved because of this.
Hey, man.
His autistic level is too high.
And then one final person is, of course, the person who's corresponding, just back to the emails and who Epstein was corresponding with. And this was Austin Hill, who is the Blockstream co-founder. And he corresponded from 2014 discussing Blockstream's funding round with Epstein and Joe Ito from the MIT Media Lab. So, yeah, those are everyone involved. And remember, this is the first batch of emails released. Questions will swirl. I think that, look, as we've discussed, the people being mentioned here doesn't necessarily mean any sort of wrongdoing. There is no evidence of anything yet that Epstein was in any way involved in the creation of Bitcoin. And hopefully he wasn't, because if it does turn out that he was, he is Satoshi, and it was a front for Mossad building out the Bitcoin network to capture the rest of the world, then I'm telling you, I'm starting everything.
I want to give a counter argument to that, Nick.
Okay.
I think just breaking down what you were saying there. First of all, if Epstein is revealed to be Satoshi, then we know for certain that Satoshi is dead and that he's not going to move those coins.
No,
so
sorry. New news just came out today.
What
Epstein's.
Oh yeah.
He was an avid gamer. Okay, he was an avid gamer, and it turns out that his gamer tag has been active for the past 6 months. Fortnite. And the only time that it was not active was when he was in jail. So it's been active for years, not active when he's in jail, and now it's active again. And as soon as it was mentioned, all of a sudden, a lot of the material was scrubbed from the internet.
Yeah, and also that it was logged in. It was logged in multiple times from Israel. Apparently.
Yeah, there's a few things. So,
anyways, Guy, now you've got a great thing. Now you guys are good.
Didn't kill himself
over the weekend. You can go and dive into some more of the files. Go down that rabbit hole. Go and search out. We've left our audience with something to think about and ponder over the weekend.
This is never going away, is it? This is never going away. The ghost of him is always going to be there, potentially pulling the strings. Okay, well, if I also wanted to say, if it turned out that Bitcoin was built by Mossad, look, those guys are pretty damn capable. Leaving aside anything, like those guys can make stuff happen. So I don't know. Like, I kind of think if it turned out that they made it, you'd be like, well, at least it's been made by people who
honestly, if it turns out that they made it, we got to shout out to this guy right here. We got to give a shout out to him and bring him back.
Really I mean, you would run as fast as you fucking could to sell it. I know, 100%. And when the real founder of Bitcoin comes out, it is my humble opinion, and there's nothing humble about me, Bitcoin will go to fucking zero.
One day.
And a microsecond, whoop, like that. If you knew who.
So yeah. If it does turn out, man, because I remember even myself was giving him a lot of flack back in the day, but I don't think Bitcoin was invented by any of these guys.
Can you spare a thought for anyone who joined in the last third of the stream, hearing us talk about all of the Epstein connections, plain Dana, Dana there with going to zero? Yeah, I mean, crazy, man. This is the state of the markets. We're living in a simulation, honestly. How crazy like go back a year and think of where we were a year ago. After Trump had just been elected, he'd just been sworn in as president. Everyone was focused and happy about the pro-crypto president, crypto capital of America. We're going to 200K, altcoin season. And fast forward to a year, and we're literally discussing Epstein files, whether Bitcoin was created by Mossad and Epstein, and whether it's going to zero. Oh, man, guys.
Well, listen. I just want to be on record that I don't think that Bitcoin is going to zero, and I think that this is another opportunity, just like how 2022 was an opportunity, just how 2019 was an opportunity. When it goes down, like, look, BlackRock is still asset class over $1 trillion. It's still tokenizing the world. Everything's going to be tokenized. It's here. It's here to stay. The probability is like 0.000, so you might as well stick with what's been happening over the last, what's worked over the last 10 years or 15 years or whatever. Buy when it's low, and during the bear market, accumulate as much as possible, and then go cash out in the bull market when things are moving up. I'm gonna continue doing that, and so that's my take. So I'm going to put everything I have. And if Bitcoin does end up going to 40K and it's October, September, October, I might just sell everything that I own and go into it and take out loans and do everything. Not financial advice, but I mean, like, it's Bitcoin. Come on. How many times has it fallen? How much FUD has there been over the years? Okay. This is nothing new to the vets.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. We have been here before, and I recall so many comments that I saw in live streams and what have you from not that long ago, when Bitcoin was 125K or whatever, and people being like, "Oh, I hope it goes down to like 40K so I can buy back in." It's like, well, yeah, you might be getting your wish might be granted. So don't look a gift horse in the mouth, I guess. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Lewis. Like, and this is the whole thing of being in crypto. Like, you've got to eat up times like this in order to make gains in the bull market. So all I'm going to say, Lewis, is that if your strategy goes wrong, we don't have a second bedroom here. So you're going to have to
There's a good thing there's a couch in the office, so
Yeah,
you know.
that's cool.
Just make
Go
sure
back to
you
our
roll your
roots. Go
sleeping
back
bag
to our
up
roots,
before
man, our
everyone
real
else
roots.
gets in.
Deal.
We'll go back to our roots.
Okay. Great. Well, yeah. I mean, I saw someone in the comments saying, I love the fact that they're laughing about this. It's like, look, it is a tough time, and it's not a nice feeling checking the markets in the morning and seeing so much red around. But you've got to. I think you've kind of got to put a brave face on it. And as Lewis says, it will improve in time. These are just the times we've kind of got to ride out and stay interested, stay focused, right?
Yeah, exactly. And now's a good time to talk about the quantum risk. Sorry, guys, I just had to get in there. It's all good. No, that's a topic for another video, a topic for another time. Let's enjoy the weekend. Yeah. Let's go and touch some grass. Let's not look at the charts. Let's log off.
This comment says that maybe we should pivot into CS2 skins. Counter-Strike, I think, is what that is, right?
Yeah.
There was another, I'm in, I know One Piece, the anime One Piece, those cards are going crazy. I think like Digimon cards. I know because it's following the Pokemon cards. Maybe the card game is the play. That's the pivot. Because
there's always a bull market somewhere.
CS2 skins.
Amen. CS skins, CS skins, and Pokemon Digimon cards. That's the real pivot, guys. When the moment Coin Bureau starts doing videos on that, there we go.
Hey man, I've seen these TikTok shop stores where they have the people unboxing the cards and doing their reactions and it's a PSA 10 or whatever, I don't know. Like, and those guys are making bank. So, Coin, I don't know. What do you call it? Card Bureau?
Card Bureau, yeah.
The Card Bureau. Keep the C, Coin Bureau, Card Bureau. Yeah, it's a spin-off. Pokemon Bureau. No, we'll do Pokemon, Digimon, Magic the Gathering,
Magic the Gathering, yeah.
One Piece. We'll do them all.
Okay. We'll just cycle.
Got to catch them all. Got to catch them all. That's going to be our new slogan.
Yeah.
Got to catch them all. Catch some gains, just not in crypto.
Yeah, it's not a falling knife. All right. Well, on that note, I'm going to let you guys go for the weekend. Lewis, it's great to see you. Good luck with selling everything, if that is what you end up doing. Nick, we'll see you on Monday for our Monday live stream over on the main channel, our news live stream. And everyone else, thank you for watching. Stay strong, enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you soon.